For those who aren't familiar, James Rolfe made his first appearance as the angry video game nerd almost 20 years ago in 2004. The character has since appeared in over 200 episodes and a feature-length film, with new episodes still being produced as of February 2024. The Angry Nintendo Nerd song premiered in episode 7 on August 30th, 2006, with composer Kyle Justin performing the song on screen in his role as Guitar Guy. Beginning with Season 2, the show expanded its original concept of the Angry Nintendo Nerd to include other game consoles, and the Angry Video Game Nerd theme song evolved into the version that we still know today. Our topic for today is the Angry Video Game Nerd theme song, henceforth referred to as the Nerd Theme. It was written and performed by Kyle Justin and is set to the classic miniature structure of many famous TV themes and commercial jingles. We can hear similar miniature structures in other well-known themes such as DuckTales and the theme from Happy Days. Like many classic TV songs, there's also a longer version which I discovered just as I was writing this up. I might cover it sometime in the future. In my first video, I stated that the most catchy and memorable pop songs usually have things going on underneath the surface that the casual listener would never notice unless they really took apart the song to dig into it. Studying this song has further cemented my belief in this phenomenon, and I came away so impressed with how Kyle was able to create such an earworm that sounds so simple and catchy on the surface, but when you pull it apart, there's a lot going on there. First, let's talk about the overall structure of the song. Befitting the retro TV structure that it's based on, all three song sections have unique chord progressions. The A and the B sections both have melodies that repeat twice, while the C section has a melody that repeats 4 times. The A melody is set to 2 2-bar sections, with the melody itself entering on beat 3 with a pickup from the and of 2 and only lasting 4 beats long. The melody is made up of mostly staccato eighth notes. The B melody is set over 2 4-bar sections. In this case, the B melody stretches out over the whole 4 bars and is set to sustained and legato notes. It begins on a 3-note pickup from the and of beat 3, and the first emphasized note lands squarely on beat 1 of each bar. The C melody is clever in that it uses the same shape and notes as the A melody and is also grouped into 2-bar phrases, but it enters on beat 1 with a 2-note pickup from 4 and is more sustained and syncopated in a way that sounds very different from the A section, almost like a fusion between the qualities of A and B. So the first thing to love about the Nerd theme is how the A section, our verse, is composed in F Dorian, a mode slightly altered from the relative minor of our song's true key, A-flat major. Now, as a reminder, the F Dorian is similar to the natural minor mode, but with a natural rather than a flatted sixth. So normally if we were in natural minor, we'd have... But with F Dorian, we alter that 6, so we get natural 6 right here. In combination with the melody, this gives us a minor 2 chord, rather than the diminished 2 chord that we would normally hear in the diatonic chords of the minor key. So to demonstrate, G, B flat, D, G minor, or the minor 2 of our current key. The Dorian chord sequence includes starting on F5, our tonic chord, and going through a 1, 3, 2, 5 chord sequence. Many examples of this technique stick to the diatonic notes and chords of the relative major scale and avoid the diminished chord altogether. This implies the relative minor without explicitly ruling out the major key. But here, that natural sixth scale degree, gives us a minor 1, a minor 2, a minor 3, and a 5 to really give us that sense that F is our key center and not just a temporary way station before we go back to A minor. This could be a clever trick on Kyle's part, or a byproduct of only using open 5 chords a la many heavy metal and punk songs, or even both. Now this sets us up for when our B section, our pre-chorus, changes to a new chord progression and is now clearly in A flat major. This is mostly down to our new chord sequence on 1, 5, and then 6, 5, 4. Which is an elaboration on the more common 1, 5, 6, 4, as heard in Don't Stop Believing by Journey. Y'all know it, you probably want to get up and start singing right now. These chords establish the key while still maintaining some harmonic momentum with the descending 6, 5, 4 sequence. And the listener may not even consciously realize, in fact they probably won't, that the D naturals from the A section that have been lowered down to D flats. But they have, and that's what gives us that sound of really turning over between the A section and the B section. Finally, the C section, our chorus, gives us that classic rock 1, 5, 4 cycle to really drive home that we're in A flat major. So the last cool thing about this A section, something that absolutely shouldn't work or should really stick out more than it does, but somehow it does work, is this A flat that the melody ends on. Because if we just listen to the melody alone, we have this A flat, which sounds pretty stable because it's the third of the tonic triad, and it's actually, when we get to our final major key, it's our 1. But the final chords we have, we get this really crunchy minor second, this G and this A here, that should totally sound super dissonant and out of place, but somehow with Kyle's phrasing and just its placement, it just works. And then that leads us into... So it's an example of how that should sound wrong for every reason with just that chord, but in the context of the song, it's actually really cool, and it's a dissonance that sets us up for the major key that comes after that, and I never would have thought of it. Like, if I had that, I probably would have thrown it out, but Kyle used it, and it's great. Here's our melody for the A section in F minor. So we got 1, 2. And here's our melody for the C section in A flat major. 1, 2, 3. And here's the interesting part. The melodies of both A and C are near identical in their shape and pitch content. There's a little variation, but they're pretty similar. But they sound very different from one another in context due to different rhythmic placement, different chord progression, different key centers in the accompaniment. And it ends up being an incredibly subtle example of what we might call thematic transformation. So in the F minor, the A section, Kyle starts with, in the key, a brief leaf from 1 to 5, F to C, both stable notes, and then hangs out between 5 and 4 for a little while to add a little tension, a la Mary Had a Little Lamb, before leaping back down to flat 3 or A flat. So we have here, 1 to 5, and then 5 and 4, and down to 3. And like I said, Mary Had a Little Lamb, that 3 2 1 2 3 3 3 stable, 2 2 2 less stable, 3 3 3 or 3 5 5, both stable notes. And this melody has kind of a lopsided M shape because we start here, go up here, and then end here. So it's kind of like start real down low, go up, dip down, go up, and then come down again, but not quite as low as we started. And as previously mentioned, this melody ends on this deliciously crunchy minor second dissonance with the third here and the fifth of the 5 chord. Still great. When our theme returns for C, the chorus, we switch to a more traditional arch shape, but now the melody has been shifted to the downbeat, it's been syncopated, and we've extended that last note to fill out the most of each 2-bar segment. So the... And now instead of that overtly dissonant 5 chord with the A flat over it, now with the new chords, the 1, 5, and 4, it finally sounds like the A is home. It sounds like we're going somewhere that we belong. So props to Kyle, he manages to take basically the same melody over 2 different chord progressions, 2 different keys, and it still works in both. And the fact that it's slightly out of tune in the first one sets us up all the better for how it's in our home key and takes us home in the latter half of the song. Now, the key to making the A and C theme work is having a contrasting B melody, which is in this case our pre-chorus, to transition us between different versions of the main theme. So instead of the short descending melody from the A section, the B melody is 4 bars long and uses an arch form. One of the strengths of the arch form in a melody is that we start with something familiar, we start with something stable maybe, so this A here, A flat, our tonic, and we gradually move away from that. So we go, we keep working up, and then once we reach the apex of the arch or the bottom, if it's a reverse arch, we go back and eventually return to that stable place where we started. Back to the A flat again, back to the tonic. This breaks down further into shorter segments where we can hear the melody center around 1 and 3, 2 and 4, and then 5 before returning to 1. So 1 and 3, 2 and 4, and then 5, 5, returning to 1 again. The resolution to 1 still maintains momentum, so we don't come down to 1 and just sound like we're done, because it occurs over the 4 chord in the 6, 5, 4 sequence. So, and we've talked about before that this is a classic songwriting move of going to 1, but blunting the momentum or the resolution by having it occur over a chord other than the tonic chord. No theme song is complete without a catchy title hook, and this is where Kyle really comes through. As previously mentioned, our chord progression for the C section here is a 1-5-4, a classic rock progression that sounds equally at home in the music of The Who, Bad Company, Jack White, and the Clarks, Pittsburgh's finest, just to name a few. So we have... And the 1-5-4 is so satisfying because we get the 3 chords that strongly establish our key, but we end on the 4 rather than the 5, which maintains harmonic momentum. Here, Kyle has laid the groundwork for hearing A-flat as our tonic, but he keeps the momentum going by ending the first 3 phrases over the 4 chord, which weakens the resolution by placing the tonic as the 5th of the underlying harmony. So we have... Kyle also makes use of classic title hook placement by having angry fall on the downbeat of each 2-measure phrase and having the final nerd fall on the downbeat of the last measure. So we have, he's the angriest gamer you've ever heard. He's the angry Nintendo nerd. He's the angry Atari Sega nerd. Then he's the angry video game. And now here on 1, nerd. Kyle also makes use of classic lyric hook title placement, with angry falling on the downbeat of each of the 2-measure phrases, and the final nerd falling on that super strong downbeat of the last measure to really have that hook sink in. So we have, he's the angriest gamer you've ever heard. He's the angry Nintendo nerd. He's the angry Atari Sega nerd. He's the angry video game nerd. In line with the other classic songwriting techniques, we finally get the resolution that we've been waiting the whole song for when that 4 chord in that last segment there gets swapped out to give us just a 1-5-1, and having the last phrase lengthened by an 8th note so that the final tonic, that last A flat, that last return to 1, coincides with the ending 1 chord and that final nerd hook. So it's that big 1, 5, and then on the downbeat, on the last measure on the word nerd, we finally have the tonic landing solidly over the 1 chord. And that's my take on the Angry Video Game Nerd theme. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some things. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. If you like this kind of thing and want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe. Do those things. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of someone else, and have a good day.